Hey, back.
Oh my Lord. Okay. Thank
Why
God.
do I look so much brighter now?
I don't know. I think that when the internet goes out, that's what happens. There's a natural luminance that goes over yourself. Should we kick it back? Yep, let's
I
kick it
think we're
back.
good to go.
Yeah, let's kick it
We
back.
got our levels are good.
Yeah.
Internet issues are good.
We are ready.
And welcome everybody to another episode of the Chop Sports Daily. Today is Tuesday.
Yes, it is a Tuesday.
September 28th. And I got to mention happy belated birthday to Young Money, Mr. Young Money himself, Lil Wayne. I didn't mention that yesterday. And
That's pretty disrespectful that you didn't.
So I'm bringing it back one day and saying happy birthday to the GOAT himself.
The CAD.
Week 3 is officially in the books. The Dallas Cowboys showed out. Our boy, Mr. Chop Sports Sturch himself was
Mr.
live
Big D
in Big D, loving the Big D down in Big D. But the Cowboys played amazing. What else we got? AJ, how you feeling today?
Dude, I'm feeling a little interesting. Last night we had a bozo come to Jersey Mike's, and basically, you ever watch SpongeBob and see the Bubble Bass episode? The guy complains about there being pickles under his burger, but there's no pickles.
This is the second SpongeBob reference that you've made, but I'm 1 for 2 because I don't remember this one.
Yeah, well, anyways, this motherfucker basically was like, he ordered like 6 sandwiches. He says, I want them plain. I said, okay. So we make them. He calls back 20 minutes later. He's like, why is there shit all over my sandwich? I said, sir, I didn't put anything on your sandwich. I sliced the end. I didn't put anything
AJ's giving all the details.
No. Let me say what this motherfucker does. This guy comes back in. He brings the sandwich back in, and he says, make me a new one now. I said, okay. I made him a new one, wrapped it for him. He says, now unwrap it. I'm like, okay. I unwrap it for him. He goes, what is that? I open the sandwich. I'm like, what do you mean? What is that? He's like, that. It's cheese. This buddy came back to the store to take cheese off a sandwich.
All right, well.
Bunch of fucking bozos, bro. Wasting my time.
All right. I'm sure that everybody is is thrilled about hearing about the Jersey Mike's.
I know.
I had a rough day as well yesterday, just in the studio all day. But now we're back. It's Tuesday. We're trying to shed ourselves of the ill will, the bad juju.
Now I'm feeling good after last night. Won some bets, and the Cowboys honestly look pretty studly. Should we get right into the cover?
Yeah, let's just get going, man. I don't want to banter no more.
Yeah, let's go right ahead into that. I mean, 41-21, the Cowboys offense could not stop scoring yesterday, and that Eagles front seven did not look like they were supposed to. What did you get from watching the game yesterday?
Jalen Hurts making bad decision after bad decision. I could say that I do think the Cowboys their defense is a lot better. Trayvon Diggs is a stud.
He
was making plays. I saw a comment on Twitter, or a post on Twitter. I think it was Kyle, actually. Not to shout Kyle out every fucking day, but saying that he looks like a young Patrick Peterson, of 10 years ago. And you know what I got to admit? I had no idea that was Stephon Diggs' brother.
Yeah, that is Stephon Diggs'
So
brother.
now that I know that, the pedigree is there, I think that he's
a dog.
You were talking a lot of shit about
Diggs I know.
Before the season, and he's definitely making you eat some crow.
Yeah.
So the Dallas defense is as much of the story as anything else. I'm not sure if it's a combination of Jalen Hurts making really poor decisions. I got to admit, I was high on Philly going into week 2. It took me all of about 8 days and 2 football games later to realize that Philly has some real issues. It starts at the quarterback position. Their offensive line is back to being banged up. They're now out 3 starters. I don't see it really getting any better for Philly. Their coach made a lot of questionable calls. And more so, when I say the quarterbacking, it's not that he doesn't have the talent. His decision-making ability is really bad. There's a lot of plays where they were doing the run-pass option yesterday, and instead of him getting rid of the ball really fast, which is what you need to do on those plays, he's having his linemen break the pocket. They're getting downfield, and by the time he throws the ball, I watched 3 times the plays got called back because of that. So that's rookie mistakes happening by a second-year guy. You got to get rid of those.
And honestly, his accuracy is in question too. That long pass to Jalen Reagor, that should have been a touchdown, easy. He underthrows that, becomes a pick, and that changes the course of the game, the momentum right from the start. And quite frankly, I mean, he just looked bad. He looked bad. The decision-making was horrible. And quite frankly, I felt bad for the receivers almost.
There's not much good we could say about what Philly did yesterday. They had a few splash plays, just enough for Jalen Hurts to ruin me in fantasy. And beat me in one league, but not enough for me to win because I had Jalen Hurts and I was also playing him, both with crucial matchups on the line in fantasy football. He hit that line where he screwed me in both. He didn't do enough for me to win, but he did enough for me to lose in the other league. So fuck you, Jalen Hurts. But on to the Dallas Cowboys, because that's obviously the real story.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about their defense, but it was nice to have a Zeke sighting.
Zeke is back.
He had a great
back.
Pump the brakes.
Hey.
Zeke played well. I wouldn't say he's all the way back, but it's a positive sign. The usage wasn't there early. You still would like to see him get the ball a little bit more in certain spots, but Tony Pollard is that dude. You know, like they really do have a legitimate two-headed monster in Dallas right now. The offense is scary. The tight ends are now they're not blocking tight ends. Those guys are pass catching tight ends. You called out was it a Dalton Schultz? Did he have two?
Yeah, two.
And even Blake Jarwin got involved yesterday. I don't think he scored, but he had
involved.
He had a nice little day. CeeDee Lamb had one catch early, but besides that, he was really used as more of a decoy. They were keying in on him a lot. Cooper didn't do much, but you didn't really need to do much with the rushing attack the way it was and the defense playing the way they played.
I'll tell you what, Cowboys won the game, obviously, but a trend that I've seen that I want people to know about. If you're a bettor, go to BetMGM. There's a banner on our website. You can sign up for a risk-free bet. But the main point I'm getting to, Cowboys opposing running backs receiving totals. Miles Sanders went over the total. Leonard Fournette went over the total. And Austin Eckler went over the total. All 3 games. And they were also pretty low lines. All I'm saying is look for that trend to follow throughout the season. The Cowboys look freaking pretty damn good.
I will say, I don't want to sit here and just completely blow the Cowboys on our live show here.
I
have to at least talk a little bit of shit. And the only person I really have anything bad to say about on the Cowboys yesterday is Mike McCarthy.
Shocker!
The time management issue is going to become a problem down the line for the Cowboys. They have to fix that. They need to hire a guy to keep in Mike McCarthy's hip pocket at all times, that his one and only job is to manage the clock. Because, bro, you got Dak cooking, right? He's moving the ball. The offense is arguably best in the league, if not top 5, definitely, right? So you have 55 seconds. It's 4th down. Call timeout. Not only that, you have 2 timeouts. It's 3rd and 30. Call timeout on 3rd down, because then force them to run the ball. Then you could decide if you want to let the clock tick. But then you'll at least get the ball with like 55 seconds to go. This guy, man, taking possessions away from his team, the way they're scoring in an important division game where at that point, the game wasn't out of hand yet. It wasn't like the game was over. Dallas needed a big second half to kind of put that out of reach. So Mike McCarthy, get your shit together. I dealt with that for 15 years, by the way.
Okay, all right, fair. Eagles only mustered up 14 points. Jalen Hurts, not the guy.
I mean, there's a lot more going on.
It's overreaction Monday, but
it's Tuesday, but I'm not going to say he's not the guy, but it's going to be a little bit. We'll say that Philly needs a little bit more help. Their offensive line is banged up. It's hard to say he's not the guy, but with the decisions he was making yesterday, it's hard to say he is the guy. So
all right,
we'll have to see more out of Jalen Hurts.
Fair. Who were the top performers from yesterday? I know that Zeke had a big game. He had 2 touchdowns in that one, and I believe that Dak Prescott went off in the game as well.
He didn't look. The Cowboys, from fantasy perspective, nobody really exploded besides Zeke. Dak had a nice little day, but it was really par for the course for Dak. He didn't really outplay his projection. Really, the story was the tight ends.
Dalton Schultz,
those guys are probably on the map as fantasy tight end number 2s at this point. I guess we could. I don't know where you have it on the recap, but I guess we'll do the fantasy later.
Yeah, we'll do fantasy later. But let's go ahead and get into some of the stories from yesterday that we were looking at around the league. We got Mr. CJ Henderson on the move. He is going from the Jaguars to the Carolina Panthers. Now, I think that this is a huge pickup for the Panthers, considering that they just lost J.C. Horn to a broken foot. They needed a guy who could replace him in the secondary, and CJ Henderson is that guy. I quite frankly am impressed with what the Panthers are doing here. Not only are they're adapting to everything that's coming their way, and they're taking the right approach with things, which we really haven't seen from this Panthers team in previous years. This really could be this year. I could believe in a playoff run for this team.
A playoff run, yes. I could definitely get on board with a playoff run, because when you look at what went down this past week, McCaffrey getting hurt, obviously that's a big blow to that team. They're saying no IR for him, so they're expecting to have him back within 3 weeks, which is a positive sign, or at least potentially have him back. in the NFL, those roster spots are important. So if he was going to be out an extended period of time, you would expect them to IR him because they really could use that spot. And with the JC Horn situation being out, immediately they fill that need. And what it really does is if JC Horn comes back, it really bolsters that secondary for a playoff run, like you said. So they could really get that addition when JC Horn comes back, and they're really not losing much. JC Horn's been playing well, but he is a rookie.
Yeah.
Right. So CJ Henderson coming in, it's a new system, a new situation, but really your job is to go cover somebody. So go out there and cover somebody. I'm sure there's some familiarity with the system because it makes sense for them to have made the move, and they need a starter to plug in right away. So good on them. I'm happy also for Henderson because now he gets to go play some meaningful football. You know what Jacksonville's been like. He's been pretty much the only guy left.
Yeah.
Out of the how long has he been there? He's been there a little bit.
He's been there, I think, want to go ahead and say 2 or 3 years now.
So yeah, it's time for him to be out.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that his play is going to improve very much so on a team that actually motivates him to perform. So good for him, good for the Panthers. That should be a good fit. Matt Nagy says that all 3 quarterbacks are under consideration to start Sunday. My note here is, what in the actual fuck is this guy doing? What's the play here? What is this?
I don't know. If you could get in the head of Matt Nagy, you could ask him a couple questions about what he was doing on offense on Sunday, because forget about who's going to start. That's a whole, it's like, who's he going to sacrifice at this point? Because that's what he did. I wasn't really getting as far in on Matt Nagy as yesterday as I would have liked to, because we had a long show. We had to cover a lot, but today is the Matt Nagy roast, we'll call it.
Yeah, no, he deserves it.
You watched, I never really agree with Dan Orlovsky. Rex Ryan I do like, but he's a kind of a buffoon as well.
Yeah.
But they really went in on Matt Nagy and saying that basically he either sacrificed his player and sabotaged the game for whatever reason, or he's just completely inept. Against the Cleveland team that sacked this guy 9 times. So he dropped back 30 times, and they were saying that they only had a 5-man protection the entire game. They didn't have one extra guy to come in to help protect him in his first game as a starter. I feel like that's really, really bad.
They didn't bring any extra tight ends in. I've been
actually singing the Bears' praises for how they've been bringing Justin Fields along and not starting him, even though the fans have been clamoring for it. But if you're going to wait to start him because he's not ready, then when you do start him, you have to tailor the game plan around him. They had, since he's been drafted, to fix the game plan, and they didn't do a thing about it. The basic offense that they ran was essentially like a Pop Warner team or like Navy, where they ran the ball. They dropped back 30 times, but it was so basic, and there was no help. Bro, at some point or another, like Myles Garrett's like, bro, I got 4 sacks and they're not helping this guy. What's going on out there?
Yeah. I mean, it was pathetic. Fields was only able to complete 6 balls out of the 20 that he attempted. And there's no way you can succeed when you don't have a line.
Sacked, it's like this. He didn't come out in the first quarter because of an injury. He played the full game, and he was sacked more times than he threw completions. So he was pretty much sacked on 1/3 of the times that he dropped back.
Yeah.
That's insanity to me. That's really insanity to me.
Well, what's going on with the Bears line as well? This wasn't a problem in the previous games. They went against the Bengals, and they also went against the Los Angeles Rams, and they weren't getting feasted upon like that come this week, and it was horrible. They could not stop a nosebleed.
The Cleveland just came to play this day, and a combination of them having a rookie quarterback in there, and because of that, Cleveland got a little more excited. Who knows? Bears need a lot of help. I'm excited about that fact because they're in my division, but we all knew Chicago was going to suck this year. So.
I mean, I told you that NFC North, that division friggin' stinks, and it's coming to fruition right now. We're going to get into a little bit of basketball talk here, and I think we're going to get into some good conversation. Ben Simmons has concluded that he's done playing with Joel Embiid. This is according to The Athletic and their sources. This is what Ben Simmons said. He said that style isn't conducive to the way he needs to play. Conducive. What on earth is Ben Simmons saying?
So, in other words, what Ben Simmons, I'm going to translate.
Yeah,
Ben
please.
Simmons is like, my style of play does not work with a stud, all-star, all-NBA center that could hit threes. Like, so if you can't work with that guy, who is Ben Simmons able to work with? Clearly, he has problems with his coaching. He has problems with the fan base. He has problems with his jump shot. That's the real only issue that we have here is Ben Simmons is too gun shy. Everybody knows the backstory on this. Ben Simmons didn't shoot once in the playoffs. We might as well just call it like that.
Horrible.
Philly wants to trade him. The fans don't want him there. But then because of the the fact that nobody was biting on these crazy offers or these crazy demands that Philly wanted, they kind of tried to mend the fence, but now Ben Simmons wants nothing to do with it. Ben Simmons isn't going to sit out. I can promise you that. What Ben Simmons needs to do is just show up to camp because $40 million is on the line. They'll trade you, but you got to show up.
I don't know, man. I mean, like if I'm him, I'm gonna show up, obviously. But how do you show up to the camp after saying these things? How could you show up and look Embiid in the face?
What you do is you just make it so awkward. What's Embiid gonna do? They're not gonna fight each other. You show up, you make it so awkward that they're like, all right, we can't have this around. What he's gonna do is he's gonna do the Brandon Marshall, where he's just gonna go in there, or the Jimmy Butler, where he went to camp and he just raised hell and was like, you do not want me here. You do not want me in this practice. Ben Simmons, but the thing is, Ben Simmons isn't a dog like that. So what's he really going to do? He doesn't really have a leg to stand on. He sucked. He absolutely sucked down the stretch. So Ben Simmons, you got to keep your mouth shut. Just go play.
Yeah, I don't understand. Where do you think he get like? You think that there's more likely a chance that he stays in Philadelphia than gets moved?
No, he's definitely going to get moved, but he has to at least go to camp because he's saying that he's not going to show up. He's done playing with Philly. You can't really do that when there's $40 million on the line. He's going to go get his money. His agents will freak the fuck out. It's like you'll eventually get traded. Just go there. Show up. Make them pay you.
All right. Fair. Ben Simmons, clown. And then Caris Levert, he has a stress fracture in his back. The Pacers are hopeful he could return towards the start of the season. I'm a little bit concerned about this. I'm a Caris Levert fan, and he's been a baller ever since he started with the Nets. He just got traded to the Pacers last season, and he had a what is it? I think it was a tumor found on his kidney, which unfortunately he missed a good portion of last season. Now he has the fracture in his back right now. I don't know. I mean, what do you think about Caris Levert and his role on the Pacers? And do you think that the Pacers have a shot at being anything legit this year?
The Pacers, I guess they have a chance at making a little bit of noise in the East, but I don't think that they have a chance to actually do any damage. They're lacking in a lot of areas, and now with him, we don't know. Early in the season, when you have a back injury, things like that tend to linger.
I was going to say that these people in the beginning of the season, when it tends to be like a 2-3 week injury, becomes a 1-2 month.
Yeah,
injury.
Basketball season's a long grind. To have a stress fracture going in is not a great thing.
And then there's setbacks, different things like that. So it's a good old mess, one could say. Let's go ahead and let's head to break. And when we come back, we're going to be breaking down the best fantasy waiver wire ads for the upcoming week.
You know, myself and Gooch are both getting a little older. One of the first things to go is your vision. Thank goodness for our hookup over at Absolute Eyewear in Woodbridge, New Jersey, right on Main Street next to the train station. They have glasses for all ages, all budgets. They have safety glasses, sports glasses. They are a full-service powerhouse offering eye exams and even free lenses for the kids. They work with BCBS, AAA, AARP, giving massive discounts. They're open 5 days a week, closed on Wednesdays and Sundays. Call 732-326-3937 to get your first pair of Ray-Ban, Burberry, Coach, Polo, you name it, they got it. Go see Craig and Johnine right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Flipping Made Easy Studios here in Matawan, New Jersey.
It's a beautiful
AJ,
day.
Did you go buy any houses yesterday?
Nah, I didn't go buy any houses, but I'm looking to buy a house eventually one day.
So essentially, if there's anybody out there that's looking to invest in some real estate, go on flippingmadeeasy.com and check it out, because I have no idea how that stuff works. But just like they say on their website, Flipping Made Easy, that's what it's all about. Go check them out.
I am not buying a home, but I do like to see what our advertisers do. So I went on and I looked at the site. Seems like it's really good stuff. They have every bit of information about every house. So if you are doing the flipping, might as well make it easy. Make sure to hit up our partners, flippingmadeeasy.com. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some of the fantasy waiver wire ads for the upcoming week. Chris, you put this list together. Let's go ahead and let's dive into those quarterbacks first. I see that you have Kirk Cousins atop this list. He impressed you a bit last week, huh?
I don't think that I'll ever say that Kirk Cousins has impressed me at all. But when he's averaging 25 fantasy points a game over 3 weeks, the Lions, the Lions can't stop anybody either, but the Vikings can't stop anybody. So because the Vikings can't stop anybody and they have a three-headed monster now at receiver, obviously Madison proved that he's just a ball-catching machine. Pause. And they get Dalvin Cook back. They just have a lot of weapons. Conklin was involved. with KJ Osborne now kind of really taking on that third receiver role, which I'll talk about him again a little bit more later. Kirk Cousins available in 60% of leagues at this point. If you're in a spot and you need a guy to start, Kirk Cousins has some gimmies on the schedule against Detroit. Now Chicago isn't really playing well. So yeah, I will go out and grab Kirk Cousins if you need a backup.
Teddy H2O, he is at second spot for you.
So Teddy Bridgewater, 36%. He was the guy that I had on this list last week. Teddy Bridgewater has been the beneficiary of playing some really bad teams. That said, Teddy Bridgewater will continue to be the beneficiary of playing some really bad teams. I think Teddy Bridgewater, I mentioned this earlier, when we're talking long-term, Teddy Bridgewater is definitely the guy, because if something happens to your quarterback late in the season, your QB1, Teddy H2O has a really favorable matchup down the stretch. So any Broncos, I'm all in on this season. I don't know why.
They're balling out. That's why.
They're balling out. And like I said, they will kind of regress to the mean a little bit because the schedule does get a little tougher. But then towards the end of the season, it really gets easy again.
And something I want to say, a lot of people that I've been talking to, when I'm saying that the Broncos are a real good team, they're saying, well, they only beat the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Jets. It's not like these were close games, though. It's not like they should have been. This is not the old Broncos team of past where this is a close game and they win it late. They dominated them from the first quarter to last quarter. Each of these three games, Broncos are a damn good team, and Teddy H2O, damn good fantasy quarterback this season. Sam Darnold, 13% owned, but he is owned in many of the hearts of fantasy warlords like ourselves. What do you think about this guy? You like him as an ad?
Sam Darnold last week, I don't think he played as great as he could have.
But he did get nice 2 rushing touchdowns.
But exactly. He's an athlete. He's got a cannon for an arm. I wasn't really sure that he had an arm like that. I watched him make some throws. He's definitely a talented quarterback. He's got some parts around him. Robbie Anderson was a no-show last week, but that's going to change, you would imagine. DJ Moore is absolutely balling out this year. I knew that DJ Moore was a stud, but he's taking it to another level. So he's got some receivers. McCaffrey's out, and believe it or not, that's not really going to hurt Darnold, I don't think, because now any chance that they had at running the ball is completely gone because they don't have a capable back.
They don't have a capable line.
We'll get
either,
to
really.
Chuba, but they don't really have a capable back. Their style is going to be throwing the ball. Matt Rule likes to pitch it down the field, so look for Carolina, look for Sam Darnold to just keep on putting up startable fantasy numbers. And as your QB, I guess, too, because you don't want him as your starter.
Okay, we have a good question from one of the Facebook users. If you guys ever want your name shouted out on the pod, make sure to just add your name at the end. How you guys feel about Josh Gordon and KC? I guess I could answer it first. So Josh Gordon and KC, obviously it's intriguing, but I don't know if he's worth a waiver wire ad necessarily this week. There's a lot of, targets to go around in that offense, and too many mouths to feed and too defined of roles.
Yeah,
it's Tyreek, it's Kelsey, or die.
When you say a waiver wire ad, I agree with a lot of that. Like when I say these guys waiver wire ads, it doesn't mean if you're in a position to add a guy, you don't have to go add a guy. Josh Gordon, there is some intrigue there because of the Chiefs, but because it's the Chiefs, there's also a little bit less intrigue. You would like to see him go to a place where you know he's going to get a lion's share of the targets, but that's not where he's at in his career. He hasn't had fantasy relevance since 2013. He's been a guy that I've taken flyers on almost year after year after year, and all it's been was a wasted draft pick. He's if you start him, you're risking a lot because Mecole Hardman, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
the Robinson, Denard, is that his name? Robinson?
Demarcus
Robinson. So they have a plethora of receivers, and it's been a long time. He's 30 now. Josh Gordon.
Yeah,
he's not a young kid.
It's crazy.
He was last fantasy relevant, I think, like 2013. Like
yes,
I said.
He was.
So it's been a long time. Nice little player, but I don't think that Josh Gordon is going to be worth adding in fantasy.
Wow, you threw the nice little player moniker on him. That's quite up. Let's go to the running back position. Chuba Hubbard is the obvious must add this week. Why do you think that he's over guys like a Peyton Barber, Kenneth Gainwell, and others?
Well, because I think that he's the only guy that has the guaranteed starting role coming up this week. So none of these guys are really going to be much standalone value. Chuba has a little bit of standalone value right now because of the McCaffrey injury, and there's some question marks surrounding how long he'll be out. And you saw McCaffrey last year was hurt. Mike Davis was the sexy pickup, and he lasted for a little bit, and then McCaffrey comes back, and then as soon as McCaffrey came back, he got hurt again. So you can look for that trend to continue. So Chuba Hubbard, if you didn't own him as a McCaffrey owner, you are kicking yourself right now, because if there's anybody in your league that has any smarts, they're at least going to add him to block you. So Chuba Hubbard, if you have an available waiver spot, I would say use it on him. I think it's a must. Use it. But moving on to the next guy, Peyton Barber. He ran so good the other day. He played so well. He played so inspired that I think that he'll get some burn even when Josh Jacobs comes back.
Jesus Christ, the backfield's going to be a mess.
You say it's going to be a mess for fantasy, right? But Peyton Barber, he's definitely a guy where if Josh Jacobs does get hurt, he's been known to be nicked. He's a tough guy, though. He played through some injuries, but it's not a good thing when you got a hurt foot and you're a running back. So Peyton Barber will definitely see some playing time regardless of what happens. But you see that he's the guy, not Drake, if Jacobs goes down. Drake's role is going to stay the same no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So add Peyton Barber out there if he's available in your league. You need help.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked that Kenneth Gainwell's owned in this many leagues. 40% of leagues. You have him third. You liked what you saw last night from him?
Well, no. I don't like what I saw from anybody, but because it's such a rough week on backs this week, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott didn't get a snap. So it's more like what I didn't see out of their other back. Miles Sanders has an injury history, and Kenneth Gainwell has a very similar game than Miles Sanders does. So if Miles Sanders goes down, I like Gainwell to get that immediate role. Also, when they were down in the game yesterday and they were kind of running their 2-minute drill, Gainwell was the guy. Going into this week, he averaged about 10 to 15 fantasy points a game. So he was somebody that was getting involved in the offense, even in games where they weren't out of hand. So I think Gainwell has a defined role on this team. As they find themselves, it might grow. So Gainwell, out of all the backs, I think he has the most standalone value out of all the handcuffs.
And then Royce Freeman, 1%.
Royce Freeman, 1% for the same reason why you should handcuff your backs. If you're picking up Chuba Hubbard, you might want to pick up Royce Freeman because God knows what Chuba Hubbard's actually worth. And if Chuba Hubbard goes down, Royce Freeman might be the guy. So I just think Carolina's offense is going to cook. So whoever's in that spot is going to get a decent amount of shares.
Fair. Let's head over to the receivers where you got Timmy Patrick ahead of the list. I'm shocked that you got this guy over Rashad Bateman. Is it because of the fact that you've seen what he's proven over the past 2 weeks?
Yes, it's because of the fact that his efficiency is insane. If you look at how efficient Tim Patrick has been, almost every single game that he's played in, he's had a touchdown. That's a stretch. It's like 1 out of every 2, but it's actually a little bit more than that. And he 5 targets again on Sunday, 5 catches. When they throw the ball to this guy, he just catches everything his way. He's bigger than I thought. He's almost 6'3", I think.
Yeah, he's
so
big.
Tim Patrick is a big dude. He's in a situation where they're a run-first team, so they can't really bring the safety over the top. They have some weapons. Sutton has been playing well. Jerry Jeudy, I think when Jerry Jeudy comes back, Tim Patrick's actually still going to be the number 2, and Jeudy will line up more in the slot. I can see Denver's offense cooking as Bridgewater gets better, as the running game gets going, it gets colder. And like I said, that schedule down the stretch, I like all Denver players. So
Rashad Bateman, 9%. This is the guy that you've been talking about for weeks now. We'll finally get to see him in action this Sunday. How you feeling?
Is he definitely back this Sunday?
I don't know.
I don't think that he's officially back yet, but you could guarantee that as soon as they announce that Bateman is back, it's going to be a mad rush to the waiver wire. So I say get out in front of that. And if you have room in your roster and you're a little bit low in the waiver claims and you're not really thinking you're going to find your way to the top, I would say use that waiver on Bateman and hope nobody else in your league does. And then you get a potential. Who knows what he's going to be? He might be a bum. I don't think he's going to be a bum, but Baltimore is really dying for that wide receiver 1 to take over that role. Marquise Brown having the issues with the drops on Monday. Was it Monday night?
Sunday afternoon. So Marquise Brown having issues with the drops Sunday afternoon, and they drafted him for a reason. So Bateman will definitely get his opportunities when he's in there. All right, KJ Osborne, 40%. Now, he didn't have the greatest week this week in comparison to his previous weeks, but
this is one of those situations where his usage has been there. He's going to be a splash player. You're not going to see him get the target share every week, but this is a team that's going to be down in a lot of games, and they throw the ball 40 times a game so far. So KJ Osborne, just because he had a bad week this week, that'll take a little bit of the shine off of him. So he's still available in 60% of leagues. He was one of the most added free agents in the league last week, but KJ Osborne, just because he had a bad week, I still like him to be involved in that offense as a wide receiver.
I'm really hoping that some people in my leagues jump ship on him, honestly, and I could get him with a nice add-on like Saturday. Zach Pascal, 31%.
Another guy that didn't really do much this week, but has been pretty consistent. He did get his targets, so the target shares didn't really drop much. It just wasn't really an efficient day for the Colts, and it's kind of a shame because going into this matchup, Pascal was probably a guy we mentioned last week because he had 2 good weeks and he was going up a really shitty defense. But I would say if you're desperate and you're looking for that back end flex guy, Pascal might be your move.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Now, this is if you're desperate. Aaron Rodgers is starting to pitch the ball around a little bit, get a little bit more guys involved. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a big play waiting to happen. They were playing a lot of cover 2 deep safeties with us, so we weren't getting anything over the top. And as teams kind of move away from that because we're running the ball effectively, and when I say I mean the Packers. So we're running the ball effectively. They're going to have to start bringing some safeties up. I like Marquez Valdez-Scantling to start taking a little bit more over the top of the defense starting this week.
Okay, fair. I like that. We do have one question that I want to go ahead and answer. I think that it's a good one. Now, he's available in my 14-man league, so I think this is a good question. Emmanuel Sanders, worth an ad?
Yes, absolutely. Emmanuel Sanders is – I compare Emmanuel Sanders. I actually am high on Sanders this year. I didn't draft him in any leagues, but he was available. In any league that he was available, I added him in. I say Emmanuel Sanders is going to be a little bit better than what Cole Beasley was to fantasy owners last year. He's just a slightly better version of Beasley, and with Diggs getting all the attention, Emmanuel Sanders is in a real nice spot to do some work, to do a lot of damage in that offense. So yes, definitely add Emmanuel Sanders. I'm actually starting Emmanuel Sanders this week in 2 leagues, so I'll be talking about him later on in the week as a guy that you might want to potentially start over some other more solid names that might not perform as well as a Sanders will.
See, I don't know. I more so see Emmanuel Sanders of a little bit of a fluke this week. If you look at his previous numbers in PPR formats, 9.2 points and then 6.8 points. Now, that was against the Steelers defense and the Dolphins defense, so that should be taken into consideration. But matter of the fact is that he really wasn't producing the first 2 weeks of the season. He has a big week this week. Personally, I wouldn't add Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, if you have to use a waiver on him, that's where I draw the line. I wouldn't be using a waiver on him. I would add him if he's available
spot,
after the waiver.
Add Emmanuel Sanders, but to your point, Buffalo played like complete dog shit in week 1. So that's a wash because he still was in the game. But the second game, they beat up on Miami so bad that they just weren't throwing the ball in the second half. It was all Singletary and Moss in that game. So
I mean, yeah, but they were beating up on the Washington football team, and then they just kept throwing the ball.
But it wasn't as bad. It wasn't the same. They didn't pitch a shutout. Washington football team made the game where Buffalo had to at least keep scoring points. They poured it on late, but Emmanuel Sanders had done his work by then. So I watched that whole game. Emmanuel Sanders looked good. So just the optics of it and how he looked on the field to me, yeah, I would add him because, like I said, that offense, there's a lot of weapons there. And Emmanuel Sanders has proven that he could do it in this league. My main concern more so would be his health. If Emmanuel Sanders stays healthy, but if he does, he'll have a nice season. I could almost see him getting like 60, 70 catches.
You have the number 3 waiver in a 12-man league. Are you using it?
Absolutely not. Moving up anytime soon. I don't want to miss out on these players. But we're not done talking fantasy. We got to talk a little bit of hater fantasy.
All right, bro.
So Dave did this. We mentioned last week that the Hater Fantasy Sports website is kind of live. I don't know if it's in like beta testing. So we went in. Dave represented Chop Sports, and he did one of these test games that they did. And Dave, our boy, took first place.
Really?
I tried to get Dave to text me his roster, but he's on a plane right now, and he's having issues with texting, so I didn't get his text. Dave, I'm waiting on it. But it seems like I was kind of tracking it. Bro, it does seem fun. The way Dave explained it was like it was difficult picking the roster. Like you have to pick good players. So like I said, you have to pick guys that are going to bust. Off the top of your head, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Who do you think would have been the guy this week? Who was the guy going into this week that was supposed to perform and just completely shit the bed?
In week 3?
In week 3.
A guy who shat the bed.
I know that I should have. I
feel like it's Jonathan Taylor against the Tennessee Titans defense that's porous, and he absolutely did nothing.
That's a good one. Absolutely. That's definitely a good one. I'm trying to think if there's maybe a Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes. He didn't do too well, right?
Threw a bunch of picks, I think. Just the Chiefs. How about this? Any Chiefs the Chiefs were
Tyreek Hill. If you pick Tyreek Hill,
that game, the over-under in that game was supposed to be 55 or something like that. And they didn't hit. The
Chiefs
went well
didn't
under. Score shit. So yeah. Anything else we got? Hater Fantasy Sports. Hopefully by the end of the week, the website will be back up and running live for everybody to get involved. I'm waiting on the word for that. So as soon as that's ready to go, we'll blast that out there for everybody to get involved and start playing these free games with the giveaways that we're going to be doing.
In terms of anything else, I'm just thinking about getting involved with the Jimmy Palumbo show. That is out right now. Chris produced that, and
yes,
it's a banger.
Dropped the Jimmy Palumbo show this morning. You can go out, check out the Chopheads MMA show, which I will be finished editing as soon as we're done with this. I'm going to edit the Chopheads MMA. We'll get that out there. So look for that later on tonight. Jimmy Palumbo show, Pretender to Contender, should be dropping tomorrow. Joe Matarese said he's recording tonight. So as we move forward, we got the Jets, the Mets, football week 4 coming up. We'll be previewing the Thursday game Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's not Thursday yet. It's not Wednesday yet. All right. So it's just Tuesday. But that's all we got for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 11, and we'll have our boy Dave back. So we'll get to listen to the Cowboy breakdown yet again. All right. It's been real.
Do you think Dave's bringing any Big D back to NJ?
Definitely. Two Big Ds.
Bet.
Bye-bye.